What's up, weirdos? My name is Felicia and I like scary movies, and today I'm gonna be telling you all the movies I watched in the last week and a half. A lot of new movies came out on Hulu, on Shudder, on Amazon, etc. And I watched all of them. I watched so many movies this week. It's been raining in New York and I'm not complaining because I've just been sitting inside under my blanket watching scary things. So I'm just gonna go through a bunch of titles, tell you what I thought about each one, and I hope you find something that sounds good to you and you want to check out for yourself. So, dogs don't wear pants. This is the first movie I want to talk about because it was such a surprising delight to me. This is a movie that just came out on Shudder this past week. It won Best Picture at Fantastic Fest this last year. It is a Finnish film, and the director's name is in Finnish, and it is bum-ba-da-bum, J.P. Valkeapää. I'm sure that was terrible. So this movie is about a man who loses his wife to a drowning accident and has to raise his daughter all by himself. He is going through a strong period of grief that lasts many years, and he gets to a point where he basically can't feel anything anymore. And then he stumbles into this dominatrix's den and creates this interesting connection and bond with this dominatrix over the course of the movie that is fascinating. So this is a world I don't know a lot about. So I will say that this is not a full-on horror movie, it's horror adjacent. One thing I really appreciate about it is that it has like sort of a positive view of sex work, which I think is important, is like coming more to the light of day here in the 2019-2020s. Particularly if you look back at that movie Cam that came out last year. That's a really good one if you want to watch that. But this movie, it is so funny because there were moments in which I was like, I couldn't, because this also is in Finnish. Okay, so I'm sure some things always get a little bit lost in translation when you're reading subtitles versus hearing something in your own language. And so there's these sequences of Mona, who's the dominatrix, like taking off her wig and taking off her makeup and all these things. And I was like, oh no, does she not want to be a dominatrix? Like, is this not the life she wants? Does she want to do something else? Is she sad? And I actually wrote down this quote while I was watching the movie because I just freaking loved it. So there's a part where someone that works in like who also works in the den, I guess, says like, oh, Mona, like, don't you just wish we could do something ordinary sometimes, just have a normal job? And Mona literally says, darling, I don't like ordinary stuff, and like gets on out of there and moves on. And I was like, oh my God, it just like made the movie for me to hear that, to have this like woman just be like, no, like, this is the life I like this is me. And I like providing pain to others. And I was like, dang, this is crazy. And the thing I loved most about this movie is because you're dealing with like S&M, this sort of like taboo topic or whatever, but there is this layer of intimacy that forms between these two characters that is so fascinating and dark, and like, it's like you don't understand it and they don't understand it, and they're trying to like learn about it with each other without like going too far, like, and sometimes they do go too far. It's like they're trying to figure out like what this thing is, and they're also figuring out with like very few words, which is it's interesting as well. It's like they're really like reading each other's body language a lot and trying to figure out like what the other person wants. It's a very sexual film. I don't think I said that, but it's a very sexual film. But I really found it fascinating, and the horror elements are definitely in there. They're very intense. But I definitely think you guys should check this one out. Once again, like, it won Best Feature at Fantastic Fest, and that's pretty cool. So it's on Shudder. It's streaming literally right now. Okay, the next one I watched is 3 from Hell, which is about to be on Shudder in a few days here, and I had not seen it yet. Why? I don't know. I missed it in theaters because it was only there for a couple of days, and then I didn't. I don't know why. I haven't seen it yet. So I finally got the opportunity to watch it. And here's what I will tell you. I am a huge fan of House of a Thousand Corpses and The Devil's Rejects. I love both movies. I will tell you straight up that I don't think I liked this one as much as the first two. And I think a big reason for that is that the first third of the movie drags in an unforgivable way. It is long. It literally feels like a 45-minute title sequence. It is so much just like, ooh, found footage, spooky, spooky, spooky. And I'm just like, oh my God. And it's like, it goes on for a long time. Like, the only thing that happens in there that you, of course, want to see is Sid Haig's last performance before he died. And though that is in there, and I'm glad that's in there, it's also very short. And so it's like not enough to get you through that whole section. And it takes forever. Like, basically the movie, I don't think really gets good until they get to Mexico, which isn't really a spoiler, I don't think. Whatever. They go to Mexico. And once they're there, a lot of fun stuff happens. There's some more interesting characters, and there's more going on. There's more like that Rob Zombie like imagery and like interesting style choices and things like that. And I'm like, okay, like I'm in here. And there's obviously a lot more like moida. Yeah, but the first part of the movie is really tough to get through. So I will say, like, if you're going to watch it, just know that I think it's still worth watching, but just know that you're going to have to get through that first part, because I know it can be really easy, especially on a streaming platform, to give up on a movie pretty easily, to be like, I'm bored, I'm just going to, like, close my computer and not think about it. Just keep going. Just keep going. There's good stuff to come. That's what I'll say. Okay, next. Okay, this isn't really something I watched this week. I watched it, like, 2 weeks ago, but I have to mention it. I tweeted about it. But when I was making my list, I was like, I'm just going to say it. Tammy and the T-Rex. This is on Shudder also. I think this is my last Shudder thing I'm talking about right now. It actually hit Shudder back in January, and then I watched it with my Patreon folks. If you want to watch a movie with me once a month, the Patreon is in the description of this video. Hey. But this movie was freaking awesome. It's also like the unrated cut, so it's like much bloodier than the original theatrical release. And it is one of the most ridiculous movies I've ever seen in my life. Ever in my life. Like, I can't wait to watch it again. I want to turn it on at parties. I think it was hilarious. So, if you need a good time, Tammy the T-Rex. Next up is a movie that just hit VOD, and that is Come to Daddy. This is the new Elijah Wood movie. Guys, I am so about adult Elijah Wood. You know, some child actors, they're a child actor, and then they move on, and you're like, I don't care. Elijah Wood has blossomed into such a wonderful, strange man. Like, first of all, he's got Spectre Vision, which is like his film production company, and they produced Mandy and Color Out of Space and some others. Just freaking awesome. And then he's doing these really freaking weird movies. Okay, so Come to Daddy, basically Elijah Wood plays this like super hipster dude, like obnoxiously hipster. And he gets a letter from his dad that he hasn't seen since he was like a kid to come and see him. And so Elijah Wood goes, you know, travels to see his dad. His dad's this like really crazy character. And I don't want to give any spoilers away, but this movie does not go in any direction that I thought it would. They have some of the boldest, strangest choices that I have ever seen in a script, and I really enjoyed it, honestly. Like, it was freaking weird, and some things I was like, none of this is believable to me at all, but I am still here for the ride, because it's wild. And I feel like there's really, like, I don't even know what I can say that's not a spoiler. Watch it, make your own mind, I don't know. But if you've seen it, let me know what you thought down below, because I didn't expect any of it. Especially the poop weapon. I just never would have expected that. That's a spoiler, but you don't know what I mean, so Alright, next I watched the Hulu Into the Dark, My Valentine. So they do the Into the Dark series. They have, I guess, I don't know if it's one a month or just for each holiday. I can't really remember. I haven't watched a lot of them, but I watched this one because I was obsessed with like the poster art. I love a neon bloodbath, people. I just do. And I could tell from this that I was going to like it. I also listened to I know I freakingly, that's not a word. I know I talk about the Boo Crew a lot on this channel, but it's because I literally listened to all their interviews and they're so good. But they interviewed the girl that's in My Valentine, and I was just so intrigued. Then I saw the poster, and I was like, what is this? So basically, this one is about this character named Valentine. She is a singer-songwriter, has this blue hair, this like very iconic look, and her whole look and all of her songs have been stolen by her ex-boyfriend and his new girlfriend. And so basically, her ex has turned his new girlfriend into a clone copy of her, singing all of her songs, and created this huge fan base for her. And so no one believes that Valentine is the original writer of these songs and Valentine is the original. Everyone thinks she's copying the copier. Does that make sense? And it was really interesting to me, or I thought I had very interesting timing with everything that's like going on with Poppy right now and her like breakup from her longtime producer. It had a really interesting look on like emotional and physical abuse in relationships, and just it looked at it in ways that I hadn't really seen before, and I just thought they did a great job. This was written and directed by Maggie Levin, and I'm really excited about this Into the Dark series, and I need to watch more because it seems to be a nice springboard for a lot of horror directors that haven't done a ton before, but they get to do a full-length feature, their whole vision, all that. Like Chelsea Stardust, who did her Into the Dark and then went on to do Satanic Panic like immediately after. So I don't know. I had really good vibes from this, and I was like very excited about Maggie as a director. I was like, ooh, this is cool. So if you haven't checked out my Valentine, that's on Hulu. Definitely a good one. Okay, next is a documentary. This did not just come out. This has been out for a while. It came out, I think it came out in 2019, and it is also on Hulu. And that is Hail Satan. And it's a documentary about the Satanic Temple, and I thought it was fascinating. They are basically a non-theistic religious group, and their purpose is social justice. They basically try to fight against the mix of church and state, particularly like Christian influence in our justice system and things like that. But the way they do it is like through satire and humor, and it's very, very fascinating. There's a whole segment about they had this like giant 10 Commandments thing up. And so they said, okay, well, if you're going to have that, then we're going to have our Baphomet right next to it, our like giant goat thing. And it's just, I don't know. I found it really fascinating, and I think you guys should check it out if you're interested in that kind of stuff. If you like documentaries, Hail Satan, I kind of loved it. And last but not least, I'm not even done watching it yet, but I'm just mentioning it because I'm currently watching it, and that is Lock and Key on Netflix. It's a new series. It's based on the Joe Hill graphic novel, and I am loving it. It's like very supernatural. It's funny because Travis and I are watching this together, and he doesn't typically like supernatural stuff, but this, he's like all in for some reason, and I'm like, me too! And I would say the acting's not like magnificent, but all the supernatural aspects and the relationships and the story and everything about it, I'm like, it's so me. I just love it. So first of all, let me know if you want to check out any of these titles I mentioned in today's video. I will link as many of them as I can down below in the description if you want to watch them. And let me know what you've been watching this week. What new releases have I missed? I'm sure there's a million. But that's it, people. If you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button and hang out with me all the time. And have a nice scream. Bye.